Ladies and gentlemen, if you are hearing this, you have once again tuned in the Consequence of Habit podcast. Man, this week's guest, I'm telling you, you meet people sometimes in life and they're so inspiring, and it's not because of what they say, it's because of what they do. And that's something I strive for. This week, we're joined by Mr. Chad Pregracke. It doesn't matter how many times I freaking practice that name, but Chad Pregracke from Living Lands and Waters. This guy was right out of high school, making money, working on the Mississippi River, and he's looking around, he sees a ton of trash. And instead of just saying, hey, that's just the way it is, he does something about it. And that's where Living Lands and Waters was started. It became Chad's mission to clean up the Mississippi River. He's now been on something like 22 rivers. He's got a bunch of barges, excavators, full-time crew of 13 people, and over 118,000 volunteers working with this organization. They're picking up 500 to 700,000 pounds of trash out of American rivers. So if that's not service work, man, I don't know what is. I'm going to let him tell his story, but before I start this, be sure to check out bisonbridge.org on this awesome but crazy idea of Chad's, and log on to Living Lands and Waters and support what these guys are doing. With that said, please welcome Mr. Chad Pregracke. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Consequence of Habit podcast. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Chad Pregracke. Did I say that right, Chad?
You did. You nailed it. That was great. Thank you.
Awesome. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't practiced a bunch beforehand. Chad's with Living Lands and Waters. And some people, Chad, may already know your story. If CNN Man of the Year, you've got a bunch of accolades. Your story's been out there. But first, I'm going to let you explain. Just give us a brief overview of one, what is Living Lands and Waters, and how did this thing get started?
Sure. Happy to be on, and I really appreciate your story as well, man, and just and the opportunity to promote what I do, and that is I work on cleaning up America's rivers. When I say cleaning up, I mean removing not just like small items of litter, but more like thousands of 55-gallon barrels, thousands of tires, thousands of appliances, pulling out big stuff, cars, trucks, sunken boats, barges, all sorts of things. And I do it in a pretty unique way. I have one of the only river cleanup operations like in the world, with barges and towboats and cranes, but it's also still 90% just straight up human muscle power. And I've been able to work side by side with 118,000 people through 1,400 community river cleanups in about 23 rivers throughout the U.S., typically in the eastern part of the United States. But yeah, that's what I do. I just came from one just like an hour ago, and yeah, they're just I love what I do. So, and that's what it's grown into. And you ask how it started, and it certainly didn't happen overnight, and has not been an easy road to get here. But the journey's a big part of it. So love it. But so it started kind of a unique background a little bit. I grew up right on the Mississippi River on the Illinois-Iowa border in a place called East Moline, Illinois. And when I was 15 years old, I started commercial shell diving with my brother. So this is kind of a weird job, but I really enjoyed it. So you essentially are diving from mussel shells in the pitch black waters of the Mississippi River. So you're spending anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day on the bottom of the river, crawling around. You've got a basket around your neck. You're the anchor for the boat. So you have 100 pounds of lead around your waist, give or take. Not knowing how deep it is, you just basically pick a spot, jump in, hoping there's shells in the bottom, and you had a go-kart engine running an oilless compressor that pumped air through a garden hose down to you, and you'd jump in, and then you'd dangle in there and trying to crawl down, and once you hit the bottom, then you got to slow that boat down. And so once you did that, then you start crawling upstream for 2 to 3 hours at a time. So did that for 6 summer seasons, and essentially covered about 150 miles of the Mississippi River. And I can't say I crawled every inch of it, but I definitely crawled a lot of it. And so through that experience, I kind of had a deep connection to the river, really just spending all my time down there. I could hear thousands of fish communicating, and just, and then that's daytime and nighttime to save money, because I was saving money to go to college. I just camp out on islands, and that's where I started to see how trashed the Mississippi was. And so I just thought, man, this is a symbol of the nation, and it just shouldn't be like this. And it's my front yard or backyard, whichever. And so that's kind of how I got into it in a nutshell. And yeah, that's like 25 years ago.
25 years. Well, something that struck me about your story is that you did this to make money. You start not the cleaning up, but you're starting essentially a business, even if it's to save money for college.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty simple, but you know what? I was dating a girl who was going to college when I did that at 19. She was studying to be an accountant, so that was helpful for taxes.
Yeah.
It was great. No, I mean, it was pretty, I was just a shell diver, and I sold them to a shell buyer, and so it was a pretty simple exchange, I guess, but it was great. I really liked it, because the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And I think that's just kind of a bigger theme in life. I mean, it seems like to me, it's like, even education. I mean, if you just half-ass it through there, you're not going to gain that much. If you work hard at it, you're going to gain a lot more from it. And certainly even doing service, and using your talents and things like that. And so, yeah, I think that kind of set a good pace for me. I enjoyed the work and having the ability to work harder and do better. So do more. So, yeah.
That shift though, when you say, all right, this is what I'm doing, I'm making money doing it, I'm going to be going to college, but from the other interviews I've heard, you were doing well enough that you had bought your own boat, you had your own equipment, you had your truck, you had a trailer. So obviously you're making some money doing this. And
yeah, it was pretty good money, really. I mean, for just being 19 years old,
Sure.
like when I finally got my boat and everything, when I was 15, I just started working with my brother and his boat, which was just a boat that we basically found. I mean, we just didn't start with much, but you just build on momentum, and that goes for pretty much anything. And so, yeah.
So you're 19 making money, and that's an age where most people traditionally are thinking more about themselves and their future. The thought of doing for others or being part of something bigger than themselves isn't something I think inherently comes to a 19-year-old. What do you think it was about what you were seeing in the river that hit you so hard that you're like, hey, I'm done with the shell. I'm done picking up the mussels. This is what I'm going to do. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to make very good money doing this.
No, I didn't make really any money doing
Right.
the river cleanups. But no, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I just had enough to survive, and that was cool. You're 19. I mean, that's
That's
I mean, I'm not. There's not. I wasn't. It just wasn't really in my realm. Like I had some rims on my truck. I was stoked. That was kind of it, and I mean, you can have a rusty truck, but if you got some rims, you're good to go. So isn't that the dealio? But, so I wasn't really money driven at that point, and just kind of, yeah.
All right. So now walk us through, because it's not like you said, hey, I'm 19. I'm going to jump on board with this organization that's already been established. I'm going to volunteer my time. You built this bad boy from the ground up, which is not simple. So
no.
Yeah. Walk us through a
No.
little bit of that.
So, yeah, you learn as you go, and I'm not the smartest guy. I'm pretty much of average intelligence, but I don't know. I just try to learn from others that know more than I do, and sometimes you learn from mistakes, but as far as starting an organization, I didn't even really know what an organization was when I tried to get the cleanup going, and people told me that that's what I needed to do. So I just partnered with a different organization that already had their paperwork together.
Sure.
And then did that for a year, and then got a board of directors together and sort of started to put some people together that are have some expertise in some different areas that I needed, and just started doing it, and just really just meeting people, but really I was very focused on how much I was getting out, like tonnage. I think I did 90,000 pounds in the first year, just pretty much by myself and maybe a few people helping me. So,
Jesus.
I was more about that than I was an organization. And I really wasn't even about promoting an organization per se. I was just more about promoting the hard work. And that's, I literally just said this to the team I work with now. Yesterday, I was just like, it's great to be an environmental organization, and a lot of people identify with that and like that. But to me, when we're working at a cleanup, like, one, you set the pace, and two, everybody respects hard work. If people just walk away and they're like, those guys work their tails off, that's important to me.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted to be known as hard work, not like just talking about it, but doing it, And so I feel like I went into it in a good way, and so I just started the organization, and then I've literally been learning and building on the momentum pretty much the last 25 years.
Chad, you mentioned 90,000 pounds your first year. What are you guys doing, you think, on a yearly basis now?
We do about 500,000.
500,000.
Maybe more. Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's sometimes up to, I think, like 700,000 we did in 1 year. It just depends on the year, where we're at, what river, what kind of stuff is in front of us. And, now we have, excavators, and
Sure.
We used to have to cut all these sunken boats up with sawzalls and chainsaws, and
my God.
just awful. And then remove them, and now we have, John Deere donated an excavator to us, and just, so we have a little bit different, tools to be able to do it,
That's not the picture I have in my mind when somebody says, hey, I work for an environmental organization, and some dude's down there with a chainsaw or sawzall cutting up an old ship. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's where the rubber meets the road, and you're just putting in work.
It's work, man. It's hard work, and it's good work, and it's result oriented. You get to see your results. It's like you get to know your tonnage. You get to know how many people you worked with, and that's truly one of the beauties to what I do, is just having, just being able to look back and made a difference, here and there,
It's a legacy, man. Honestly, did you know that when you started this thing, did you understand the byproduct of service work?
No, I didn't, but I liked it a lot. I liked all the things I just mentioned, seeing the results, and people were very appreciative of it. And, it's funny, my dad, we were on the dock, like, we live right on the water, so we had a dock, and I had just started doing this, maybe, or was just about to start, or whatever it was. But he's like, this could be big. And I remember him saying that, and he still jokes about it,
Yeah.
and because it just continues to, get bigger, and just, there's a lot of attention on it. And so, yeah. And so it's just funny. It still mentions that this could be big.
Yeah,
He's right.
Funny. Yeah,
but it is
right.
because people like it, and it's needed. Like, it's not a government agency out there doing what we do. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, and it was so many years of floods and people dumping and what have you. And so there was just a lot to do.
Yeah. How long did it take before it started picking up traction where well, two things. One, you start getting attention from the media, and then the other thing is, how long before other people were like, "Oh, Chad, I love that idea. How can I help?" Because anyone I've explained this, I've explained that you're coming on this podcast to a couple different people, and then I explain what you do, and everyone I've told is like, that is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and but it helps really the momentum, when people say that, and I mean, how they can help is just, I mean, truthfully, I'd rather not have them help. And what I mean is, I would rather have them focus locally where they're at and use their talents there. Certainly they want to come to a cleanup, we've got a schedule and we're working and all that. But I mean, I would rather have them help an organization that isn't as well established as ours. And I'm not trying to try to, not have help. We need all the help we can get, and what we have, we can do. But there's just a lot of people who haven't had or met some of the people that I've met and have helped me figure out how to do things. And I'm just, I've been doing it a long time. And so there's, there's a girl in Florida that came to our barge. She's working on St. John's River down there outside of Jacksonville somewhere. And she came there and she's just starting out, so I'm trying to help her get a boat and trying to help her do this. But, so it's kind of, those kind of organizations is what I'd rather have people help out with,
Yeah. When I was driving into work today, I listened to one of your other interviews, and I was, not struck, but it caught my attention when you were talking about service work and what people can do. And this would be the part in most interviews I've heard where they say, look, go to my website. This is where you can donate. This is where you can come volunteer. And you're quick to say, yes, you can do that. But if you've got skills and that can be used in your local area, well, shit, let's do that. It seems simpler to me.
100%. And again, I'm not trying to say, we need all the help we can get. It's not that. There's just people who are right within in the same hometown, small town, big city, whatever it is, wherever you live, that really could use your talents. And I don't care if you're a carpenter, if you're an accountant, if you are good at computer science, if you're good at marketing, if you're a good delivery driver, whatever it is, there is an organization, a multitude of organizations that truly need your help.
Yeah.
Period. And maybe from serving on a board of directors or, but money isn't the only way to help out. It does drive a lot. It helps out. Without that, we couldn't do the operation we do. It's a very expensive one.
Sure.
But, there's just a multitude. And I honestly think there's a lot of different ways to serve your country. And certainly the military is, it's at the top,
Sure.
But there's just a lot of other things you can do within the parameters of your life that you have going on that you can give back to the community. And, I always say it's not, especially students, if I'm I speak at colleges and all that. It's hey, it's just about changing your world, and people think you got to go out and change the world. Well, that seems overwhelming and just kind of what, but really I think it's just about changing your world. And the river was my world and still is. And so if you see a problem in your community, then that's just, you can do something about it. And whoever tells you can't is full of shit. I don't know. But I mean,
yes.
Can I cuss on here? I just did.
Dude, have a field day.
No, that's probably it. That's about it.
All right. But I think it's so important. I've had this concept or this thought around service work, and it doesn't matter where you come from, right? So I come from when I was dealing with alcohol misuse issues, and one of the things you do in any type of 12-step is they want you to do service work, because when you do something for others, inherently it does something for yourself, and it's this weird paradox of not, taking the attention off yourself, putting it towards something or someone else, your community, whatever, and it gives you it changes your identity. I think it just makes you, it gives you more pride than a post on Instagram that got 1,000 likes.
Yeah, it's a big part of what I do, and meaning it's a big part of what I love about what I do is just meeting so many cool people, and people really appreciate the work, and I really appreciate that these people came out on a Saturday and people are busy, where we live in a country that's really busy. And so people spend 4 hours or bring their kids or they come alone or whatever. They'll come to these cleanups and they just get into it, and it's just, I just get to meet a lot of really cool people, man. And going back to said, selfishly, it makes them feel good as well.
Yeah.
And so it's, I can't express enough. If there's, if you have a little bit of time, go check something out, go volunteer for something. You might just, if you're young too, if you're like in college, like that's the best way to figure out what you want to do is go try a lot of different stuff. I mean, if nothing else, you find out what you don't want to do, and that, I mean, I think that, that's good stuff.
And going back to your point of serving, when you say serving in the military, everybody knows exactly what you mean. But I've had a lot of people, military members, that come on here, and at some point there's a shift. They're not in the military anymore, but they're passionate about something, and it usually has to do with service work, helping others, and they're just as motivated to protect and serve their community. It just doesn't happen to be in the military anymore, and it's something I don't think we talk about enough. I mean, to volunteer for your own community and give back and do something, dude, that is some impactful service work. So I can't stress that enough. I hope that message resonates with more people. Yeah,
and I think I think it's loud and clear, man. And I'm just certainly here to back that up. And this is random, but I'm just going to say it. I think it a lot. I really, really enjoy the work, and I work around like the best people that are at their best a lot of times when they're volunteering and they're thinking bigger than themselves. And then I think of like cops and judges, man. And I'm like, it just seems like, I just wonder how they stay motivated, because a lot of them have to deal with people at their worst time. And they have to deal with that all day long. And I don't know what to say. I would just say thank you. But also the comparison to what I do to what they do and how to stay positive it's a big difference. And I just wonder, because it seems like it would really be tough. So, anyway, I just thought I'd throw it in there.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Said.
I think you're right. I think it's, that is a tough job, just kind of being in somebody's life when they're having could be one of the worst days of their lives. And you're seeing that on a regular basis. And a lot of what we do here on the podcast is kind of talking about, when we talk about habits, we talk about, so these communities, and this is going off on a tangent here, but unfortunately a lot of the habits that they develop that are promoted within those communities do not serve them long term. So whether you're hanging with your buddies and having some beers and whatever, but getting back to the service work thing is, I've had on, God, I wish I remember this guy's name. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this, but a guy who's coming on and he, so say he's votes one side of the house, doesn't matter which side, and he's fairly hardcore about it, and he's doing environmental work, and he's trying to make a connection with groups that are on the polar opposite, right? So if this guy's he's really into rock climbing, he's into mountaineering, he's talking to members that are on this that are NRA hunters. But I think where the connection is, and I think this is where it kind of ties into what you're doing and why so many people like it. Nobody wants a dirty river. Nobody wants
right.
You know what I mean? Like this is it's this thing that binds everyone together.
Yes, it's 100% totally agreed, and it's been very helpful in building momentum on this. And I don't care who you are. You could be Rush Limbaugh or Hillary Clinton or whatever side of whatever, and it's like nobody likes seeing. I mean, we all drink the water. There's 18 million people that get their daily drinking water directly out of the Mississippi River, all the towns and cities. And so, and then all the people who fish and hunt. I mean, there's just, it's just a pretty, it doesn't matter. And you just bring all sorts of people together. It's cool. I mean, the people I live with, my crew of people that I live with, they're all from different spectrums of life. And it makes it awesome. Love it.
Explain you living with, because I think, I don't think we covered it in here, but you're living on the boat, right?
Yeah, I live on the boat, and I live for, I don't know, 10 months a year. I mean, just depends on the year, 9 or 10 months and all that. So it's great. There's like 10 of us, and it's a great life, man.
That sounds like it.
Come out and check it out anytime you want. It's great. Yeah,
I'm coming, man. I'm coming.
Yeah.
100%. We're starting this thing where we're doing some service work. What I think is great for groups that maybe haven't always made great choices in their life, and they feel this kind of sense of shame or whatever to do something like what you're doing. I think is really, really valuable. So I might get a crew together, and we're gonna find out where you are, and we're coming to you, Chad.
That would be amazing, dude. You would have a much better sense of kind of what we do and what we, just what we do. I think you just like the experience, and so feel free, man. I'm offering that up, and I'm totally serious. So
cool.
We'll just try to make that happen whenever it's convenient.
Nice. Hey, just to switch topics a little bit, explain what's going on with this bridge. Is it the Bison project?
Yeah, Bison Bridge. It's a big switch of gears, but essentially, I grew up right on the river, and I'm just a half mile from the bridge is where my parents' house was, and it's Interstate 80, which is one of the longest interstates in the country. It's 2,899.6 miles long.
Wow.
Starts downtown New York City and ends in San Diego there. And it's one of the longer interstates in the country, and it's right by my house and across the Mississippi River. And for me, it's your first impression as you come across the state line out of Iowa and into Illinois. It's your first impression of Illinois or your last impression. It's your first impression of Iowa or your last impression.
Yeah.
And there's really not much there. It's not very developed or anything, which is totally fine. But essentially they're going to build a new, much bigger bridge in the next 5 years. And it's already, the funding's there. I mean, they're moving forward with it. And they're going to blow up the old bridge and spend $30 million to tear it down. And so I always had this idea of, on the Illinois side, a small herd of bison, essentially, because right now people are just driving by my hometown. They're not really stopping, and so I always thought, people stop for wildlife, and I always wanted a small herd of bison, something that people could view locally, but then also people traveling could pull over. And there's already a rest area there, and I mean it's set up perfectly. But then when I heard that they were going to demolish the old bridge, I just suddenly, it's like a light went off when I was driving over it. Like, I was visualizing like, this is not going to be concrete where I am. This is going to be dirt. The bridge is going to be somewhere around the new bridge, but not probably too close to it. And so anyway, I got this idea to make one of the world's largest wildlife crossings out of the existing structure. And I kicked it off a few months ago. 34,000 people signed up for it. So this is where I'll say, hey, go to bisonbridge.org. Again, that's bisonbridge.org. I'm not looking for your money. I'm just looking, if you think it's cool, there's a video there, shows you exactly what it could look like. Just if you like it, just sign up. You don't have to put all your information in there. I'm just looking for people to sign up. But it's gained a lot of momentum. I've been doing interviews all over the world. It's one of a kind. My ultimate goal is to start have it as a national monument run by the National Park Service, similar to the St. Louis Arch. A couple million people go there a year, and it's not me running. I have a huge team of engineering firms and, ex-engineers and marketing folks. And it's a great team of people, and it's building really good momentum. So it sounds crazy, but the westbound lanes can be dedicated to wildlife crossing, like I said, a small herd of bison with about 100+ acres of grazing ground. So it's totally unique, one of a kind, but that's exactly why people would stop or drive to it just to check it out. So yeah.
Dude, did your parents tell you no? And then what was response? Because you don't seem like a guy that backs down from something that seems like, even if it's difficult.
I don't like no.
Yeah, clearly.
But you know what, though? I mean, this is weird, but there's thought into it. Like, I don't ever try to put people in a position to tell me no. Like, I'll try to figure out all the different answers or questions that one might have, And that just goes for, like, the stuff I do through the organization and all that. And so, it's, that's just kind of it's what I've learned. And so,
I think we need more of it. We need more people that can go, hey, I have this idea. Short sounds crazy, but I'm gonna go for it. I'm 19 years old. I'm gonna start cleaning up the Mississippi River. Most people are like, grab a bag and we can spend a couple hours picking up cans. You've got excavators, you've got barges. How many rivers have you guys been on now?
I think we've worked on like 23 or 24. We've done stuff as far out as on the Hudson, and we've done stuff. I mean, we've just the Ohio, the Missouri, the Illinois. I mean, all these different places, and the Delaware, and just it's great. It's great.
And the trees. Now you're looking to plant 2 million trees?
So I started planting trees on the islands of the Mississippi River because there just wasn't enough wildlife. People think I see all this wildlife, and you do see some, but there's no food source on all these islands. So the upper Mississippi River is obviously really big, and it has hundreds of islands and sloughs that channel through there, and there used to be hardwoods, but the steamboat era cut them all down, and then the lock and dams were built, so the hydrology was changed, and on the higher elevations of the islands, I started planting hardwoods to be able to create more food for wildlife, and those trees, I started doing it like 12 years ago or more, and now they're huge. It's working, and
awesome.
But then it grew out to a lot of people wanted trees and all this. So we ended up starting our own nursery, and we also have some other people that help us grow trees too, but we've either planted or given away. It's over 1.6 million already. So
that's awesome.
Once a year we do a big tree push, and that's another non-controversial thing. I mean, everybody, right. So yeah.
Yeah, no one's saying, hey, throw those refrigerators back in the water and chop those trees down. Like, everyone wants that. So,
right.
Chad, man, I really appreciate your time. I personally love what you're doing. I talked to you, the company that kind of sponsors this podcast is a non-alcoholic beer company called Athletic Brewing. And we want to, I don't know if you guys are interested for your crew. We want to send some beer your way too. So, when we get off the line, Just tell me where to send it, and we'll get some to you.
That sounds wonderful, and I really appreciate it. And just so you know, I'm sponsored by Anheuser-Busch, but for 7 years I was sponsored by O'Doul's. So the whole time, and because I didn't look 27 or whatever it had to be, and so yeah, no, I get it, and please send some my way. I really appreciate it, cool. And I appreciate them sponsoring. I think this is you do a great job at what you do, man, and I really am honored to be part of it. So let's stay in touch. Come out anytime, and we'll go from there.
Chad, I love it, man. I'm going to shoot you an email with some information. Everybody, make sure you're checking out the bisonbridge.org and the work that they're doing at that Living Lands and Waters. It's got an amazing website. I love the picture of like that mountain of tires and the crew just kind of leaning on them, laying on them. It's the perfect picture to really show what your organization is doing. Keep it up, man. I'm looking forward to seeing some bison crossing a bridge soon.
For sure. No, that'll be in a few years, but anyway, well, thanks so much, man, and we'll stay in touch, and really appreciate your time, man.
All right, thanks, Chad. All right, that's it for me. Thanks to Chad and everything he's doing. I am fired up after that conversation to get our organization going and just start making some positive changes in our community and in your own life, and let's not make it about just us. Start helping each other out, improving our community, cleaning up. Love it. And with that said, I will catch you all next week.